This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
PTL, coming at you!
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. And I feel like we're in Seattle right now. It has rained like 4 straight days. Mark Jeffrey's fescue outside the studio is like a vibrant green. Got a good show for today. This is probably one of the most underrated, interesting guys in professional bass fishing. And I'm talking about Keith Poche. Dude's running like a 17-foot aluminum in the Bassmaster Opens. Also fishing the BPT. Has some interesting thought processes as far as practice, finding fish, locating fish. One of the few guys who can say over the course of his career that he's led a day in the Bassmaster Classic. He's also had he's just had. I've gone back and I've looked at some of his stats today when I wanted to get him on primarily to talk about his strategy in the Opens, and I talked to him at Redcrest. He was there with the Gator Tracks boat that he helped design, but. He's fished 12 Opens since 2020, and he's had 7 top 30 finishes with 3 top 10 finishes. Come very close to some wins. He got his first career win in 2020 in a Toyota Series event. So also in the age of YouTube channels and professional anglers trying to navigate their way through social media, he literally did something off the grid, and it's the YouTube series called Off the Grid. And he'd actually kind of told me a couple years ago what he was planning on doing, and it was kind of before I had really started fishing and was still doing some videography work, some social media work, and covering tournaments for the Bass Zone. And he was like, "Man, I've got this idea. Is there any way that you think you could help me film it or edit it, produce it?" And it just never came to fruition with me. But then he did it, and it's really good. It's really cool stuff. It's really different stuff called Off the Grid, and I'll show a little bit of it during the show. But we're talking about like jumping beaver dams, using winches and chainsaw, all sorts of crazy stuff that is just different than what the average guy does with a bass boat. So Keith is actually working today, so he's going to jump on from a job site, talk a little bit about what's going on that, and then we'll get into all this good stuff. There actually is some tournament action that is going on right now. The National Professional Fishing League is fishing right now on Watts Bar. I'm not going to lie, that tournament kind of snuck up on me. I thought it started tomorrow. It started today. It is the 3rd NPFL of the season. Jesse Wise, after 2 events, leading the Progressive Angler of the Year standings over there. We've talked a little bit about Kevin Rogers in second. Crappie Angler, I wouldn't even say he's transitioning to bass. He's just added bass fishing to his schedule. And then Ryan Davis rounding out the top 3 in that Angler of the Year. I think Patrick Walters is fishing this event again. Actually, I know he's fishing this event again right after the Elite Series on Lake Fork, and coming off of a second-place finish in the first NPFL the second NPFL, but over there in his home state of South Carolina on Hartwell. Something that I thought was interesting, and I touched a little bit on it, but we had yesterday's and the day before the show was so jam-packed. If you haven't had a chance to listen, like I said, I know that like the Inside Bassmaster podcast had Lee Livesey on. I know Mercer show Lee Livesey. Lee Livesey's been everywhere at the Win for Fork. But I had 5 guys on yesterday's show, and afterwards I think I really get a better feeling of what went down with Fork by talking to first and second place finishers Lee Livesey, Brandon Polinick, and then kind of guys who cash a check completely opposite different ways. Zaldane with the big Hogfather swim bait, Daryl Gleason primarily with a shaky head on a bridge, and then talked to a newcomer, Alex Redwine, in just his 5th Elite Series tournament of his career about what it's like trying to navigate a place like Lake Fork with no experience. So even if you're not from Lake Fork or you're not looking for information on Lake Fork, I think there's a lot of information that you can gain on how to approach tournaments and how 5 different guys, a favorite who knows every little spot, a guy who's never been there, guy who power fishes, commits to the big bait, guy who does what it takes to put $10,000. Gleason called it a business decision. Just a lot of different kind of nuances in that show based around Lake Fork, but applicable across the country. So if you have a chance, go back and listen to that show. But like I said, I touched on it Monday, and before we get to Keith Poche, I wanted to bring up this Mito Pereira. And if you don't follow golf at all, the PGA Championship was in Tulsa. Dude's like 27 years old. He's not from, is he from Chile? He's from one of those countries. Seemed like a super good dude. Maybe 29, 27 or 29. Anyways, never won a major. I don't know if he's won a PGA Tour event. He comes into the PGA Championship. It's a major. I don't know if there's like a Bassmaster Classic of golf, but it would kind of be along those lines. A major championship is huge. He's from Chile. But he had a 4-shot lead at one point, and then he lost it. Then he got a big lead again, and you had a Justin Thomas in the clubhouse, and he comes up to the 18th hole, and he's got a 1-shot lead. And all he has to do is par the 18th, make smart golf decisions, and he wins millions of dollars, and he's a major champion out of nowhere. And he had a weird swing, picked a weird club, hit it in the water. Long story short, makes a double bogey. Everyone's calling, meltdown, failure, whatever. He ends up finishing 3rd. Justin Thomas goes on, wins it in a playoff. But if you look at social media, you look at the Golf Channel, you look at a lot of the morning shows, and people, there's dozens and dozens of breakdowns about, here's what he did wrong, here's his swing, the failure, I try to draw a comparison a lot with fishing and other sports, as Jeffries did in years past, and it's interesting to me how much they focus on this guy's collapse. And in fishing, it seems like it's different. There's statistics of how many guys are leading after they're going into the final day. And I think this is where fishing is different, because the fact that you can point out to say, this is the 5 things that he did wrong on this final hole, and here's the differences in his swing and his decision making, and here's what he could have done that was better, allows you to say, okay, these are 5 bad decisions that resulted in this. But in fishing, I think it's hard to draw comparisons with that, even though I like to draw the comparisons, because you can't really see what you did wrong, and there are so many more uncontrollable variables. Because we've seen guys that have gone out. I mean, obviously, the most notable one would have been Jason Christie on Hartwell when he came in with 4 and he stuck with the chatterbait and he lost it. We've seen Brian Snowden in Florida. There's a number of these guys that you can draw comparisons to, but I don't think that it gets harped on. Well, 1, because not as many people follow fishing in the professional tour, but 2, because there are so many uncontrollable variables that you can't point and say, this is what this guy did wrong that caused him to lose the tournament. You could do that in the golf tournament. It's really hard to do that in the fishing tournament. Kind of brings the uncontrollable variables that we talk about in bass fishing, why the best in the business win less than 10% of the time. why you have guys that are big time in this sport that have won one or two times and how hard it is to win. So I see Keith. He's taking a break. He's backstage. I want to ask him about his win because he's been doing this for 12, 13 years now at the top level. Got his first win a couple years ago, but has been close, especially right out of the gate. So I want to talk with him about that, and we'll talk with him about jumping beaver dams, and we'll talk to him about not having like electronics on the front of the boat, and we'll talk to him about just his interesting strategy when so many guys are trying to do the same thing better. Keith says, "No, I'm just going to do something completely different," and that's rare in this sport. It's rare to go off the grid, which is a great title for that show. So it's BTL on a rainy Wednesday in Oklahoma. We'll be back after these quick messages.
The time for you to get Active Target Live Sonar is now. Get $200 cash back when you buy Active Target, or $400 back with Active Target and Elite FS9. And change the way you fish. Target fish with Active Target and let Elite FS handle the rest. Active Target is also compatible with HDS Live and HDS Carbon. Active Target by Lowrance.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Welcome back, BTL, on a Wednesday. And Peter saying, Hog Father? Hog Farmer? No, it's the Hog Father from Tater Hog. It's the $275 swim bait that Zaldane was losing like lead Texas rigs on Lake Fork this past week. All right. Let's get to our guest today. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend, Keith Poche. Keith, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to jump on BTL. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah, Matt. Thanks for having me. We're here in Alabama, Pike Road, and it's a rainy day here as well. Luckily, we're inside doing a few things, trying to get this house wrapped up.
So you, in between tournaments, go back and just bust your butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get a day off, honestly. I mean, the only days I get off is if I'm on fishing a Bass Pro Tour event, and I have an off day, because we fish one day and off the next, Group A, Group B. That's my only day off. And all the other days I'm working here, or I'm driving to an event, which is work, in my opinion, because it's stressful driving, especially 10 hours, 12 hours. And then I go straight into practice or straight into the event. I mean, some events I don't even get to practice just because I have so much going on here. I took on a lot with this house. I decided to do it myself, and might have bit off more than I could chew, but hey, it's working out. Everything's going, catching a few fish still. So things are just kind of flowing, and we're just going with it.
I was unaware that was in your skill set, Keith. The construction. I mean, you're what are you doing? Building it from scratch, or?
Well, no. I mean, I'm kind of the contractor, if you will.
Okay.
I'm subbing some things out. I hire subs to do a few things, mainly the big stuff, framing, foundation. I'm doing it right. I mean, I'm doing all the steps needed necessary to build a well-built home. Of course, when it's getting down to the finishing touches, plumbing fixtures, light fixtures, I did all the electrical myself, things that I can kind of handle. I don't need a big crew to do that I can kind of get hands-on, kind of, slow walk my way through it. I'm doing it myself. So I've been here overseeing it. There's just a ton of little things, little small things that people don't realize that you have to do and be a part of, hands-on, phone calls, picking up materials. It's just a lot of things that's wrapped up in building a house.
Dude, I moved into like my first actual house in January, and then like I've had a couple of outlets that were like working, and now then they stopped, and then I know to go check the fuse box. Everything's golden, nothing's wrong on there. The electrical stuff kind of scares me a little bit though. Like I've got a fan that I want to put in the bathroom, and my buddy's like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
super easy. You just match it." I'm like, "Well, you can come over and do that, man."
Yeah, I mean, you got to know what you're doing, of course. I mean, there's a few things you got to go by code. There's codes, electrical codes in every state that require certain things. So, but yeah, it's a very important thing to get your electrical right, just, for safety reasons.
So I wanted to get you on primarily to talk about your game plan, your decision making. I mean, you stick out like a sore thumb in the opens. It boggles my mind that, and this goes for the Toyota series events and the opens and the BFLs. Like I know the economy's been incredibly good over the last couple years, and bass fishing has been incredibly possible. But you go to these open deals, and it's like 230 boats all in this little bay, and they're all brand new double power poles, 20 to 21 foot, lit up like space machines, and you're like looking over the water going, my goodness. Everybody, it's like 6 graphs on every boat now. It's insane. And then there you are.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you are. I mean, and now yours is tricked out too, but what, 16 and a half foot? 17 foot?
It's actually 18 foot long from tip to the transom. They call it's a GT series Gator Tracks. 17 and a half foot's kind of the standard, but actually you put a tape to it, it's 18 foot long, a little over 18 foot long. So actually I have a 90 horse Mercury on this boat, and it does just fine, running low 40s, depending on the tackle and the weight and the prop I have. But I can actually put a 115 on this boat, and I may end up doing it just to get a little more speed. But I don't know the weight difference of that motor, because having that smaller motor, that 90 horse, it's accessible to places. Now, I'm going around these trees. I'm going through pipes. I mean, I'm culverts and different things. Like the smaller the boat, the better for me, in my opinion, just because I'm able to fit through places that larger boats can't go, and just the accessibility in and out real easy.
So you started this in 2020. Was the first year that you went to the aluminum, correct? Like kind of full time.
Yes,
there
that's
was.
correct.
So
yes.
And then you went to the Gator Tracks. I just want to make sure I get this right. Last year, or is this year the first full year? I know you were at Redcrest with the guy who like builds them. It's not like a giant manufacturing deal. I mean, is this like built to order custom aluminum boats, basically, right?
Correct. Yeah, Gator Tracks is a custom built boat. Now the hull is a stamped hull. They get it bent. I mean, it's all a I guess you will, a design that they follow on every boat. They all of them exact, but they're hands-on, custom built. There's not any kind of machinery that's automatic system that's punching them through. They're all custom welded. Every weld on that boat is made by a guy that's actually welding it. They have a lot of pride in it. And the custom part too it goes in the fact that they will lay out the interior of your boat any way you want. If you want a box laid out a certain way, bigger here, smaller there, you can really, the options are endless if it fits with their whole design. Their whole design is set. You can't change that. But the interior part, there's a lot of things you could do to customize what fits you as a person and a fisherman, what you're wanting to do, or have the boat made for.
So having one of these 4-wheel drive boats, is that a good? Would you say that's a good description for it? A 4-wheel drive boat, like you're not going to win a road race with it, but you'll be able to take it somewhere that you can't take a Formula One car.
Right. Yeah, these boats are amazing. I mean, they're built with 3/16 thick hull. I mean, it's the thickest hull on the market, but it's still extremely light because it's aluminum. The material is real light, and they don't have a lot of extra. What should I say? It's hull and boxes and the essentials that you need to for this boat to work functional for you. So a lot of other aluminum boats, or even fiberglass for that matter, they have a lot of double walls. So you got an outside hull, and then you got another wall on the inside with, whatever in between to run wires. They don't have all that. It's bare minimum. They keep the weight down, and it still looks good. It's attractive. It's an attractive boat that they keep it down where it can still perform and do the things that you need it to do.
So this is something I find this interesting. So you're doing all this. This is something that you have had in your head for way longer than you've done it. So I kind of mentioned this before I brought you on. You'd come to me when I was shooting you were like, man, I need some photos. This is when social media was blowing up. So like what, 2016, 2015, 16?
Yeah, you were the first one I talked to about doing
That's what I'm saying. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So you were like, hey, I need some photos. And then you're like, you do video, right? And you're like, I have this idea. I have this idea for this. And this was like 5 years ago. And I was like, yeah, we can make it. We can do all that. And then it got to where Weird BTO was in a transition where we were going from on location and I was going to filming, transitioning more to BTL and the podcast with less filming, less on location stuff. And it just kind of fell by the wayside. But I always remembered how cool the concept was, which was your off the grid concept where you take this aluminum and you go places you're not supposed to put a boat, like really go places you're not supposed to put a boat.
Right.
But dude, you've done this over the past 2 years now or year now, and it's freaking awesome, dude.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun with it. And it kind of stemmed from, years ago. And I don't know if you remember, I fished a couple opens. I can't even remember when I first did. It was my uncle's boat. It was an old Duracraft that he had. It had, pecan leaves all in it. It had rats in it. And I was this place I wanted to go. It was through this pipe, and his boat was just the right size to go through that. And I had so much fun fishing that tournament out of that boat. And it was pretty much the same size boat I have now. It was like 17.5 foot it had like an 88. I don't know. It was old motor. It smoked. I mean, it wouldn't run. Crispos and everybody. I come through the blast off line. I mean, I'd screw everything up, the live well check and all that. I'd have to get out of line. But anyway, I had so much fun, and it just stemmed from that. I had these ideas, man, and I started fishing out a lot more, and I started going back in these creeks and catching fish and jumping this and taking a chainsaw. And, it was just going places that nobody else goes or would think to go. And catching fish and big fish at that. So it just kind of stemmed from that and just kind of evolved. And here we are today and still doing it.
All right. So the off the grid episodes, I'm going to be honest, with everything that is out on YouTube, you should have way more views on this stuff, Keith, because this is different. This is exciting. This is edgy. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on was I think and you're getting good views on it, but dude, this shouldn't be like 15 to 20,000 views. It should be like 50 to 100,000 views for every single show. And I think it's just because people don't know about it, not because it's bad. So I wanted to have you on to let people know, like if you watch anything on YouTube, the Off the Grid series, and you came out with one, 3 months ago, you kind of do it you're working here, you're fishing the BPT, you're fishing opens. I understand how passion projects are really hard to get to in the middle of it, but you need to be watching Off the Grid. I want you to talk about the show and what it is. I'm going to throw up a section of the show on the screen. If you're listening to this on iTunes, go to YouTube, watch it. It's Off the Grid. But this is Keith Poche. While you talk about this, your boat's like 3.5 feet off the ground with a winch over Beaver Dam. So how did you actually come up with the concept for that show? Then I know it was 5 years ago, but what made you think, dude, I need to film this and put this out so people can see it?
Yeah. So me going back in there and I was back in this place and I was jumping stuff and I'm like, dang, did I really just do that? Did I just really put my boat through all this stuff? And I'm like, I guarantee you people would love to watch something like that because it's different. And that's something that I want to be. I kind of want to be different. I want to do stuff because I get tired of the same old, watching the same fishing show. Oh, here's a fish. I caught it on this and this lake and blah, blah, blah. People want to see something that's exciting, different, and fun, and it just that's just what I love doing it. But like you're saying, I'm so busy. I got so many things going, and it's hard to film these. I mean, people don't realize it's an all-day affair just to film one of these shows, and you have to find the right spot. You have to study. I get on Google Earth a lot to really find these locations, and a lot of times I go, and it's not anything like what it shows on Google Earth. I mean, there's a lot of dead ends. There's a lot of places that just doesn't work out. So you put all this time into it, and then you get there, and it's like, well, this didn't work out. So there's a few things that just factor into making these work well. But there again, there's a lot of places that set up what it does. It's just finding them. It's just doing the research, going out and just trial and error. And I have no history in these places. Like when I get in there, I'm literally in there for the first time ever. So I don't know what I'm going to catch. I don't know what I'm going to see or what I'm going to get into. And luckily, I am so thankful that I have yet to spend the night out in the middle of the woods on the lake, because I've always been able to make it out. There's one time I come back after dark, but I've always made it out. But I mean, there's a chance that I could break down, my winch break or something happen, and I not make it out. And I'm way back in there. There is no one coming to get me.
So you actually have a functioning winch that is on the boat at all times.
Yeah, so this video you're watching here is the older boat. Yeah, that's the Duracraft.
Just dumb. He just ran over a beaver dam that was completely out of the water.
Yeah, so I just had winched over the first one, and that was another one. But this is the older boat, the Duracraft, with the 90 horse Mercury as well. And I had to tie. You can see the winch up front. I had to tie it up front every time. When I'd get out there, I just tie it up and I just leave it hanging. The Gator Tracks, the new Gator Tracks, it's built into the boat. It's mounted underneath the front deck, underneath the foot pedal, and I got a remote. I just will open the lid and I just release it, pull it out, and it's a lot easier than taking it on and off now. So it's a part of the boat.
Is that most recent one the Florida style one? Is that with the Gator Tracks?
Yes, that's with the newer boat.
Hold on, I just clicked on the video, went to the next one. It was Todd Castledine in a fight with a high school kid. I got to go back to this one. So, the reason you like to do this? I don't want to say that I'm like a wimp, but like, I mean, I kind of draw the line at Louisville. Like where I saw you back there in Louisville, that's where I'm like, yeah, there was a chance, because I never run that before at all. That was a Hail Mary first day of the tournament, kind of a little desperation move. But you know what that was like going in there. That was like zero sketch. But it was just don't hit what you can see, right? That's kind of a
I could do that with my eyes closed.
Yeah, so here's my question. How do you know you're not going to get in a legit pickle? Because, I mean, dude, you're like moccasins, gators, no cell phone service. Like, you can't even get an airboat back there to get you out. Like, what is it that makes you say, let's do this, and not be like, well, it's gonna turn into an episode of Naked and Afraid for the next 5 days back in here?
Look, trust me, I have been eaten up by so many mosquitoes you wouldn't believe. It's terrible. Like I said, in summertime it's hot, but you really want to do these in the wintertime because fish is just not that great. Fish don't eat. But, I just take chances. And I've done it enough now that I know I can kind of look at something and be like, okay, I can make this work. Just like with anything else. I mean, you just kind of get a feel for what is in front of you. Now, have I had doubt? Oh, of course. There's been times I'm like, I don't know. And I've been tempted to turn around, but I just keep pushing forward and make it. And it turns out to be a great show. But like I said, it's a lot of work, and I'm hitting stuff. And, I get a lot of, and let me just throw this out here as well. I mean, doing all this stuff, I get some negative comments about, oh, you're tearing your stuff up and this and that. I can honestly say, on live here, and I swear to God, my motor has never been in the shop. There's a way you can hit something without tearing. You know what I'm saying? You just kind of push and boom, and it kind of bumps and stops. And I'm not just intentionally gouging and rock and I mean, yeah, I've turned up that muddy water, but that I mean it's a water pump. I mean, I've yet to have to change a water pump, but it's not like I'm just chewing and just hitting stuff wide open. I mean, there's a way you can push over it and boom, and you just kind of hit your motor a little bit like this, and it's it. I have never broke anything in any of these videos at any time. Now, in some of the tournaments, I've ran up these creeks way up, like in shows, and I've nicked some props and different things like that. But you do what you got to do in those situations. But a few of these videos, I have yet to hit. Now, it could happen on the next one, but I have good equipment. Mercury, it never runs hot. It's got a good water pump system that it flows through. It never runs hot. The Garmin trolling motor got a 36 volt in there with lithium batteries, and man, they're just beasts products that just are really, really good and tough. That I put them through the ringer, and they perform. I mean, unbelievably.
You make money off this with your sponsors? Like, if I'm a sponsor of Keith Poche, like this is something that I want to be a part of. Or is this right now something that you're just trying to get going to where everyone knows about it?
Yeah, I'm just getting it going. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, I feel like I'm not putting enough out. I'm not doing enough of them to really grow it like it should. I don't know the algorithms of YouTube, and 90% of these videos I filmed myself, and I edit them all myself.
Really?
There's a couple that I've had someone do with me and help, professional guy, but I think I like the unprofessionalism of it. I think I like the raw footage of it not well put together. I don't know. I mean, maybe we can get some feedback on what people think, but I think people like that, just something that's not so well organized and put together. It's just a normal video, a normal guy out there having fun, catching fish and doing some crazy stuff.
All right. I want to go to the tournament side aspect of this, Keith, because this has been, I would say, one of the most revisited topics amongst anglers, and the guys are really divided on it. And you're one of the guys that's right in the middle of it. We saw, back in the day in the early, we've seen like Steve Kennedy and them like fish single events out of little aluminum boats. We've also seen guys like Brian Snowden and stuff put a big deep V when they went up north back when you could do it. Then we went to, and I'm just kind of setting the scene, the Elite Series the last couple of years said, hey, you have to like fish the whole year out of the same boat, regardless of what it is. It wasn't in the Opens. We saw in Douglas with the tunnel hulls and Ott Defo that they said, hey, you can't do the tunnel hulls now. It's all about level playing field. So you are able to take your vessel in tournaments, places that people with a fiberglass cannot. What are your thoughts on that as far as what shouldn't be allowed, the standardization of everyone getting even versus calculated skill, what you're giving up with it's an interesting topic. Have at it.
Yeah, and I have some strong feelings about that because, a lot of sports, they're able to regulate, just say NASCAR, for instance. I mean, I don't know NASCAR, how they're set up, but I would assume that they're all set up pretty much the same way. They have to get them checked and all that different things. I mean, there's really nothing. The weight of the guy that's driving the car is probably the difference in, how much they weigh and whatnot. Golf. I mean, I'm sure that they have certain clubs or whatever, or certain balls they have to use. Basketball, they all use the same ball. I mean, football. I mean, so my point is that these sports, these leagues are able to narrow it down to be specific on what the guys can and can't use. So everybody's equal. So the only way to do that with fishing, so we got guys that have different types of rod reels, different electronics. There's even different size gas tanks in some of these boats. Some boats carry more fuel than others. Some guys run faster now. They have different size props. So you can look at the bass fishing, the game of bass fishing, and there's advantages and different disadvantages in every part of it. Some guys may have better sponsors. He may have more time off to go practice longer. Some guys, it's endless. So until they can really fine tune that and make everything an even playing field, I feel like me running a different size boat is no different than a guy that's running a boat that has more fuel than the other 20-foot boat, or he has better electronics. He has live scope versus, so that's what I'm saying. So unless they say, no, you cannot run this boat, Keith, or whatever reason, I'm going to continue to run it because that's what I do. That's my strategy. These guys that run those big boats, or they have this, or they fish deep, that's their strategy. That's what they choose to do. They can choose to buy a little boat because that option is still available until BASS or any one other league makes that decision to do that, to cut that out. I'm going to continue to do what I want to do because they do what they want to do. They choose to fish with those type of rods and reels. They choose to get power poles versus talons or what. Each product has advantage and disadvantage. So until they can make it all equal, all level on an even playing field, then I don't see the difference, in my opinion. So, I have a disadvantage in those guys running a big boat. They have more fishing time. They run faster. They can go farther. They can run in rougher water. So their range is a lot better. So I'm taking a chance, and people don't realize. Me and Octobos had a conversation about this several times. There are so many things that can go wrong when you're doing something like we're doing. I mean, you could hit something. I mean, you're taking so much time to get somewhere that your low fishing time. I mean, you have to catch them. I mean, you lose a fish. I mean, you may not get that body in. So there's so many variables that factor in running way up somewhere. You can break down. I mean, I can go on and on about it.
Didn't that happen at the Arkansas River where you were way up and you hit something with your prop and you couldn't get back and you had like a mega sack?
No, the Arkansas River, I missed the lock.
Oh,
so I went way back up in this deal. Just quick overview of that, and I it was my fault. I left too late. I was like, I think I had a later flight, but I said, you know what? I'm not gonna worry about the first lock. We'll catch the next one. I mean, that next one, they'll just come back, circle back through. And I come around the corner. I told my client, I said, I think we're going to make the first one. They was closing the doors. Okay. I said, don't worry about it. We'll get it. Well, no, a barge was coming.
Oh, okay.
We sat there for almost 3 hours.
Oh, and that was when you finished 27th with 1 day's wait, right?
Exactly.
You'd have been leading by like 10 pounds.
I left the second day way early. I left them, but I just said, no, I'm not missing a lock the second day. But no, it's always been something. That's what I'm saying. Like, I run slow.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just say, hey, I got to really plan out my strategy. I got to leave at a certain time because it's just so many things that can happen when you're running this type of boat and going the type of places I'm going.
Does it surprise you how many guys get ticked off when guys in aluminums or do well? Yeah. Is that surprising to you how many guys dismiss the finish or the accomplishment as going, well, he had an aluminum?
Yeah. Do you know how many times I've been protested?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't want to know how. That's a slippery slope there, but like it's been interesting. It seems like it's always like, I mean, listen, I've talked to guys who walk around your boat and be like, well, how can he have that on there? And how does he have this on there? And what's that? And there's no way that could be legal. Like it's a lightning rod for controversy, Keith. Why?
I don't know. I asked the same question. I think because maybe because I'm just different and they're maybe they want that boat. Maybe they're mad because they don't have it. I don't know. But they have that opportunity. They can do the same thing. I mean, I literally played like what it cost me to run that little boat, that first little boat that I especially when my uncle gave it. I didn't pay nothing. I just put gas in it, and I had opportunities to win the tournament. It's not about the boat. It's not about you can get an old little boat and fix it up, do what you want, put a new motor, whatever. As long as it makes sense, it's legal, it's got a steering wheel, do what you got to do, get to where you need to fish, you can catch them. And that's what I think the misperception is these days. I think, guys think they got to have all this and that, and that's great for the companies that sell this stuff. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing it. And I'm not trying to discourage, I don't want to talk bad about these big boat companies, but I drive a 20-foot, a Gator Track Strike Series on the Bass Pro Tour. I mean, I love my Gator Tracks. I like running that boat, but I also like this little boat style as well. So it's just what you want to do. I don't know why guys get upset about it, because it's not like I'm in a huge advantage whatsoever. I just find fish. I put my homework in, and I do what it takes, and I make these decisions, and I go catch them.
I agree. Hey, I know you're at the job site, and I didn't even tell you, like, I didn't put a time limit on this, but I wanted to talk about the Opens, what your goal is for the Opens. I wanted to go into the practice for the Opens. That is some interesting. Do you have time? We take a quick break, come back for another segment?
Yeah, that's great.
All right,
Sounds
let's
good.
do that. It is
yes, sir.
It is BTL on a rainy Wednesday, talking with BPT Pro and Bass Boat Off-Roading Aficionado. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Keith Poche, we'll be back after this.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us.
But none of them knew us.
None of them were us. Except for one. Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on. Striking lures.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? Well, the Bass Tank is here to help you. The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
Welcome back, BTL on a Wednesday, talking with BPT Pro Keith Poche. Dude, I didn't know how much you wanted to get into that aluminum stuff. That was the stuff I really wanted to ask. That was kick butt, dude.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean,
it's a weird topic, isn't it? Because it's all fishing, but like, what's the difference between a guy with 3 16-inch units up front, a live sight, a live sight that's faced down, a live sight that's faced forward, in a 21-foot boat with a 54-inch shaft and the highest Navionics chip that you can get, and you pull up and you've got a 9-inch screen and no forward-facing sonar, and you're going, well, this guy's at a disadvantage because he can fish the shell bed better than I can.
Yeah.
and no one ever says anything like that. But if you go to a creek and you're on the other side of something that you can get over because you have an aluminum boat and another guy can't, it's still fishable water. And they're going, well, he shouldn't be able to get back there because I can't. Well, it's just a different tool.
Well, and let me just add one more point to this. And I didn't mention it a while ago, but I want to make it real clear that I fish every event out of this boat, Opens and Toyotas. I don't fish out of the big boat. And with that being said, it doesn't always play where I can go back in a place. So I fish the main lake too. I mean, I'm out there with no front electronics. Just, I got a nice Garmin 9-inch, which is great. But I'm fishing the main lake as well. What I'm saying is I'm not always going back in somewhere. Like I fish out there with everyone else with doing the same stuff. So that's what people don't realize. They only look and think about it when it actually works in my favor. When I go back in somewhere, they don't think about when I'm out, in the rough water going across that lake.
I've seen
3
you.
foot. I mean, what I'm saying, like
with a co-angler.
There's so many guys been like, how in the world did you just run across that lake? I said, well, it gets you a little spray, you get a little spray on you, but I mean, it ain't too bad. Just take it slow.
You mentioned the practice and how you sometimes end up in the main lake. It's interesting. A lot of times going into it, and if you're listening to this on iTunes, Keith is on the work site, currently on the work site right now, construction site. He's got his whole team in the background going through drywall, lighting, frame, the whole 9 yards. But you don't a lot of the time go into the tournament not knowing exactly where you're going to fish, and that is one, because the time that you don't have the time to dedicate it, but two, and we were talking a little bit about this off air, it's kind of sketchy to figure out how to practice for those opens with 230 boats and 500 fishing poles on the water and no off limits in practice.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I was saying, the off the grid concept that I try to go for instance, you take Cherokee. I showed up on day 2 of practice, Tuesday on half a day, and I went way up the creek. I was looking on Google, and it looked like I could make it. I went up there, had a few bites. There was a couple shows I didn't want to run. I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. So, but I had some bites. So it's the end of Tuesday, so I have half a day Wednesday. So I go launch way up there, like below the dam. I'm like, let me just see if there's anything up there. So I just practiced a half a day. Didn't have my boat. I actually had a boat official for the Bass Pro Tour. Actually, it was at his house. He brought me my boat, my little boat, Gator Tracks. So I went and put up there, and I had a lot of bites. I'm like, oh, no big ones. So really, I had one day of practice. And I didn't even run it all the way. And there was like a shoal. So I put 2 props in my boat, and I ran this shoal, and I hit going up and hit coming down on both days. I had to change the prop out, but I caught them. Like I had a slow first day, but I had 18 pounds the second day up there. So I didn't know. I just went. That's all I had. That's just what I felt like was going to work for me. No one told me anything. I didn't get any kind of previous information. I just went with what I like to fish. And I think people don't do that enough. They try to get information. They try to see, what's going on. And that's good to try to get understanding what the lake has. But a lot of times, if everybody knows how the tournament's going to be won, or they know where it's at, I mean, it just don't work that way. There's always something different that happens, or they find that's going to work, or that's going to be the prevailing win. So you have to go with what your gut is, and it's not always going to work out. But you have to trust yourself. You have to have confidence. And you take John Cox, for instance. I mean, I got a lot of respect in the guy. He's a great fisherman. He's a shallow fisherman. But he just fishes. He goes with his gut. He does what he does best. And this is what I do best, in my opinion. So that's just how I roll. And certain guys may get out deep and growl, and that's their thing. That's fine. Go for it. But the last Bass Pro Tour event I fished, 0 practice. I was at Ross Barnett. Couldn't practice. So I was fishing a tournament on Ross Barnett out of the little boat. Then I swap boats. I actually had a boat official bring me that boat over at Lake of the Ozarks. Jumped in that boat, swapped off, put all my tackle in there, and went fishing the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Had a slow first day, kind of figured some things out. Boom, second day, it just kind of took off. But I just fish confident stuff. What I like to do, you know, and that's what you have to do sometimes. Fish off the fly. Fish the moment, like Ike and Nelly says. And I don't think we do that enough. We try to figure out, practice, I did this, I did that. And it just, man, it's changing. Every day it's changing. And people have to make those adjustments. Now, a lot of times when I go back in this stuff way back, I mean, those fish ain't going nowhere. I mean, that's the one good thing about that. They're going to be there. They can't really move around. They're stuck in a way. I mean, they're back there for a reason. They're not leaving just, you know.
They live back there. That's their home.
Exactly. But the downside of that is there's only so many that live back there. So you have to either manage them or have to have multiple spots like that. See, people don't realize you're not going to go out there and whack, 100 fish. Now, one exception, James River, first time I've ever been there. I found this on Google Earth. I found this backwater deal, and I went there first day of practice. And the tide was up and down, and it was like, it's so hard to get in there. I actually got out of the boat, pushed. Because practice, whatever.
Yep.
I just pushed myself in there, and dude, it was like unbelievable. But it was a big pond, and it had deep water. It was just like a big lake back there, and I was like, holy moly! And that was first day of practice. Never went back. And then I go there the first day of the tournament. Tide's out. I'm like, oh man, it was further out. So there was one little hole that I actually bought a 2x4. I forgot my push pole, so I bought a 2x4. Put it in the boat. So I blasted off with a 12-foot 2x4 on the front deck of my boat between my co-angler and me. You know how much wood prices are these days? That thing's expensive. That was the most expensive push pole I ever bought. But there was this little hole, and it was like a shallow, flat rock and stumps and logs. And I said, man, this is the only way we're going to make it. I said, I don't know what else to do. If we wait till the tide come back in, we'll have to check in. So I just ran it, and I ran kind of up on the bank a little bit, because you had to make a turn, and I just and it just went up on the bank. Luckily, I was able to push off, and it got deeper right there, and I was able to make it. But a lot of times I go into these events, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what I'm going to have to deal with when it comes game time. Because it's ever changing. The water's up and down. These creeks, you get a rain. I mean, it floods out, or, it's dropping out. So there's always a challenge. You always have to make adjustments, and you have to do what you have to do to get in there.
That's what you touched on it. It surprises me that you haven't won one of these things yet, but the strength is also the weakness.
Yeah.
You're dealing with limited number of fish, and it takes a long time to get back in them. So really the way you have to win it is you either have to find something that is truly, magical, that has 15 fish that you could catch, or you're struggling by the end of the tournament to catch these fish if you're not managing them properly. And it's not like you have hundreds of acres that you can go catch them in. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, and that's the very reason, and I'm not taking anything away from Kenta. I mean, he's a great fisherman. My hats off to him. He caught their butt that last day. But that played into what I'm talking about. I really leaned on these fish the first 2 days. I mean, I was, of course, I'll go in there and practice for a couple hours, and I get all these bites. I don't set the hook. And then I go in there the first day, and I don't know what lives there, and the wind's blowing. It was just one of those days. I didn't catch me 17 pounds, but the second day I had almost 24. So I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, I'm leading. I'm like, I got this. But no, it's not that big. I can't, dude. I don't know how many I caught. I caught so many fish between my co-angler and I. It was unreal, and big ones. But I just leaned on them too much.
But your co-angler too. You've got a co-angler, Keith. You got a co-angler behind you. You get a guy who knows how to catch them. I mean, these are not fish that you're having to tempt into biting. They're sea bait, bite bait.
Yeah, it really got slow that third day, just because, just the fact that I'm going around and around and sticking fish and releasing them back, it really slowed down. And I was really fortunate to get that. Yeah, I had over 20 pounds still. Had a good day. But Kenta, you know, he's in the main river. You know, the fish, there's just a lot more numbers. They're pouring in, pouring out. Just a lot more opportunities to run around and find a bite when you need it.
Dude, I'm over here thinking, Keith, I think I'm on to something here. This would be so freaking cool. What do you think the best fishery in the country is for what you like to do for the off-road bass fishing? If you had to pick one place that has the best backwaters that are hard to access with ponds that there's numerous, is it the Atchafalaya Basin? Is it the Red River? What to where you can catch them, where you can get away from people in multiple, like pick the best lake in the country for it?
You know, James River was the first time I've been there this past time, and I didn't get to run the whole river. I didn't get to look around a whole lot, but I would say that one of the places I feel like that there's some places I think I could have got if I would have really took the time to go look. I don't know. That place is phenomenal, bro.
Okay.
The fish are so big there. I don't know if it's the James River. There's so many places that you can do this. You know.
Okay, let's take the James River then. We'll use that. That's the playing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is it in automotive? They have like mud racing and they have monster trucks. They have all this stuff. But never in fishing have they taken the best off-road backwater guys. I want to see you. I want to see Steve Kennedy. I want to see John Cox, Ott Defoe, and I'm sure there's a couple other guys with these customized rigs. Throw out the you're going to get protested thing as long as it's Coast Guard approved and legal. You can winch in, you can winch out, you can get out, you can drag, you can cut, you can do whatever. You get 12 of you guys. It's a specialty tournament. Everybody gets to customize the heck out of their stuff. You put them on this fishery and you see who's the off-road backwater king. You have a 3-day derby with all these guys with their stuff and your winches and your backwater stuff on a place where there's more than just like one. Like Grand Lake would probably not be a good option for it, but like a James River or a Red River, one of those deals. Dude, you film that and you put it out and you have an off-road series, that would be massive.
That would be unbelievable. You would see stuff you like, holy moly. Like me jumping, winching over those beaver dams. I mean, there's so many things running back, hitting stuff, man.
Dude, think about the boat manufacturers. You would have every boat company that makes an aluminum wanting to be in this thing to show what their aluminums are. You know, Tritons, Ragers, Lowe's, Bass, like all of them. The Gator tracks you bring in, the customized ones. You can have the tunnel hulls. Now you've got all the accessories that are to it. You sell this thing to a My Outdoor TV outdoor channel thing with a dozen of these guys who have big names like you, and say, "Go do cool stuff, and let's see who the king of the off-road backwaters is." Home run.
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt, because it's exciting. It's something that's. You know, that's so thrilling. You don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if somebody's going to fall out of a boat, you know, jump something or hit something, wreck, or I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, some of this stuff we're running through, dude, you hit something. It's. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to flip or it'd be bad, but I mean, it could get crazy pretty quick. And to watch these guys watch us do that, go through this and navigate through this stuff is crazy. I mean, I don't know. I'm up for it. I'm game.
But here's why I think it would be live. It would have to be live because here I want to show something right here. Okay. Picture this is live. People are at home, just like they watch the Elite Series, like they watch the BPT, right? You with me? Mm-hmm. And this is on their screen. Dude, you are not turning off the TV if that's live right there and you don't know what happens. In a 30-minute video, I mean, you kind of know, like, hey, he didn't spend 5 days there. Yeah. But imagine a live camera right like that. Dude, you're calling up your buddies. You're going, Keith Poche 6 feet in the air over a beaver dam right now.
Yeah, you don't know if he's getting off there. He might not. He may be stuck there. Tournament over. I mean, he's not catching them today. But you know, but if you're set up right, honestly, that's really not a big deal because if you got a good winch, you got a good chainsaw, man, you can go. I've winched over dry land, like dry, just straight up dry. Like it doesn't matter. Like I can go over anything, and I've actually jumped dry land. Just so there's a way to do that without hitting your motor. Trim it right when you're about to hit it. You trim it up, high jack it. You got hydraulic jack, like get as high as you can. And before you get there, just let off, trim way up, get the motor, above the bottom of the boat, and boom, and you're over it. And you won't hit the motor, you won't hit the prop, you won't hit nothing.
I'll take your word for that.
I mean, if you ever want to do it, you can hop in the boat with me, and we take a ride.
All right. I know you got to get back to work. Like I said, I appreciate taking the time out of work. This has been a fantastic show. I've learned a lot. It's been very educational and enjoyable. But I want to get, dude, you've had a heck of a career in 12 years. You've led the Bassmaster Classic. You won a tournament in 2020. Like I said, you've been protested, DQ'd, got in a fight at the lock, became well known in BPT. Like you were the poster child for the BPT as far as last minute catches, running around. Now you're doing this thing like in 10 years, dude. You've had a heck of a career for what you've done for a guy who, I mean, you weren't like a expert when you got into this thing and qualified for the Elite Series in 2010.
No. I was not ready. But I took a chance. I believed in myself, and I had confidence, and that's all you need. That's a scary thing when somebody's confident in themselves. It doesn't matter who you are, no matter what sport you play or whatever you do, you have confidence, and you're going to figure it out some way, somehow. And I've had a lot of missed opportunities. The Classic, I should, one. There's been tournaments, and maybe it's unexperienced. Maybe it's just my personality. Maybe it's my nerves. Because if I can get my own stuff out of the way, I make some poor decisions sometimes. Man, there's a lot of things that could have went differently. But hey, that's fishing. I stay positive, and I go to the next one, and I don't quit. I have fun. I make it fun, and that's all you can do.
That's awesome. What's the future hold? You're second in the overall with 5 left. You're also really good on the BPT, have made a good name for yourself there. You've won Toyota Series. You're second in the Northerns after 1. Is it just wait and see what happens and cross that bridge when we get there?
Yeah, I'm not trying to leave anywhere, go anywhere, try to this or that. I'm just having fun. Like I said, I love fishing the opens. I mean, I've always fished, especially out of the little boats, because I get to fish out of the little boat. That's one of the reasons why I do fish it. Heck, I mean, even if I was to qualify for something additional than the Bass Pro Tour, I would try to fish both. I want to fish as much as I can fish. I mean, because that's what I do for a living. That's who I am. So it gets frustrating sometimes. I've talked to my wife and I've said, man, I should have won this. I should have done this. Maybe it's time for me to just move on or do whatever. But no, I mean, that's who I am. I mean, this is me. This is I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to continue to make the most of it, and I'm going to work my ass off and do everything I can to win every tournament I can. And of course, I've only won 1, but who knows? I may win the next 10. And you never know when you're going to hit your run, when you hit your little stride, and it just takes off. So I'm doing the right stuff. I know I'm doing the right stuff because I feel good about it. No matter if it's against the grain, no matter if it's doing something that's different than nobody else, as long as you're doing what you feel like you're doing, it's going to work out. And you may not always finish at the top, but as long as you give it all your all and you're confident and you're doing what you believe in, that's all you can do, man.
That's well said. I do want to close it out. I know you've got a Trilene hat on there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like Pure Fishing and those brands, the Fenwick, the Abu, like that, you've had pretty long-standing relationship with those guys, and I mean, you're kind of becoming synonymous with that brand now. It seems like a really good partnership, and they've kind of stuck with you through the years.
Oh yeah, they're great. I'm very fortunate to partner with a great company, a great fishing company that makes great products. Trilene, Berkeley, Adler Garcia, and Fenwick. Fenwick's coming on strong now. I run a Fenwick wrap. They got some new stuff that they're coming out with, came out with. They're just stepping up their game all across the board, and they're doing a lot for the products. And I'm really excited to be with them. They got some great angles. Skeet, Edwin, Justin. Bertrand. I mean, you go down the list. Cox, Bobby Lang. I mean, they got really good anglers that are really putting in good feedback or making these baits and products. That's, dude, the best of the best is fishing with these products. So I'm fortunate to be a part of it, and really thankful to have that partnership.
Good stuff. Like I said, I would love to get in the tiny boat with you. It's a logistics deal between tournaments, between time, between building, between doing BTO. You got my number. You are ever driving through Oklahoma and want to go do some sketchy stuff, I will postpone the show and we could go do something. We could go do something for a day, but I'm going to let you get back to work, and greatly appreciate the time, Keith. And I guess I will see you at Oneida.
Yeah, in the little boat.
Dude, it's going to be good. Like, it's going to be really good that time of the year from everything I've heard. Like, they're going to be chewing. And then with the gobies in it, like the smallmouth they're going to play, it's going to be good stuff. Did we lose them right at the end of the interview? That's fine. We're good. That was Keith Poche. We made it all the way through the interview, and then I think he got a call at the end of it. But it's all good. We're going to take a final break of the show, and when we come back, kind of recap the week, look ahead to what we have going on next week. It is BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. Two sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at denalirods.com.
Welcome back. Closing out another regular week of BTL. Big shout out to Keith Poche from the job site with the work crew. Really going in depth and kind of a little bit off the board and talking about. I mean, that was a conversation. I've had them. I've been in them. I've heard them. That was really a conversation that would be had off air around a couple cold ones after a tournament when some guy goes, dude, I went up a creek and Poche was up there with that aluminum rig, and then that's like the conversation you would have about it. A lot of guys talk about that a lot of times during the Opens, and he's not the only guy that is running an aluminum boat in the Opens, but like I said, that he's doing something different. I had this conversation with Scott Palmer over sushi after I had him on. It was really good, and I said, man, there's a real fine line with success in the Opens because, 90% of the guys are doing the same thing. I think there's really a percentage that are just fishing it because they want to and they can, and it is the Bassmaster Opens, and if you have the money and the time and can get in, you don't have to know how to fish. So I think there's a percentage that are just there. And then there's that whole group, Google Earth, electronics, homework, practice, seasonal patterns, where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be, work it with the group. And in trying to outwork and be different with your strategy and all that, everyone ends up being the same. So then you end up trying to figure out a way that you can be a little bit different than the next guy or 1% better than the next guy. And guys go about that differently. Like I'm trying to do it with the spinning rod stuff. Hallman does it a lot with like the LBJ and the power fishing stuff. Other guys do it with the electronics. Keith does it by like getting off the grid. And he does it so much that, he's, like I said, he kind of fishes a different tournament. It happened at Ross Barnett. I had Jared Miller call and he's like, yeah, I got up to this area. I couldn't get past it. And I hear something and I like peek my neck over. There's Keith Poche. Is fishing for different fish, just being different. It's hard to do the same thing that everyone else is doing and expect different results from everyone else. But I also understand the standardization. Like there's nothing in any other sport where, I guess you could, no, you've got 14 clubs and there's tolerances and grooves and ball density and NASCAR, and you have all the cars that are the same. It's a conversation that has been around for a long time, and standardization at one point in time, I will say this, standardization in equipment at one point in time with the BASS organization was important with Ray Scott. We've talked a lot about Ray Scott with his recent passing, and if you remember, especially the first classics, 10 pounds of tackle, they weighed the tackle. Now, you could bring whatever tackle you wanted, but it was 10 pounds of tackle, X number of rods and reels. Boats were provided by the same company with all the same electronics. Nobody had any sort of advantage because the fact that they were going to Lake Mead was not known until they were 10,000 feet in the air, as Mr. Murray stated when he talked about how that went down during the Passing of Ray Scott show. It wasn't until, signage in the past 10 to 15 years that you're seeing a wide disparity. Like there wasn't the options available on the boat. Like there was like flashers or paper graphs, or you didn't see these to where you could do totally different stuff with different electronics, different boat links, sizes, motors, and setups. That's kind of new. And it's a struggle, I think, right now in the industry and with tournament anglers between is it wide open where we're going to celebrate and promote catching more fish, exploring, expanding new horizons, or are we going to, instead of go down the path of innovation, are we going to go down the path of standardization? Like innovation versus standardization. And we're right in the middle of that right now, because you see a lot of technological advancements, a lot of on and off the water stuff where people can use to supposedly get a competitive advantage. Now it's available to everybody, but you're also seeing a big economic disparity in like the cost to do it. Like, yeah, everyone could have a Gator Tracks boat and call them up and do that, but it's what, $40,000 of disposable income. And then, hey, if you want to take that actually to an event, you could take that to an event, but then you have to have another truck to tow it to, and someone to tow it, and someone for them to stay. And then if you're going to have 2 boats, so I mean, yeah, if you've got $100K in the opens just to have a 18-foot aluminum boat with all the bells and whistles, so you can go do it, Keith, have at it. It's totally legal right now. So just some thoughts going through the head as we wrap up another week of BTL. We will be back tomorrow with another day 4 with Frank Scalish. Other than that, great week of BTLs. Big shout out to Keith Poche. I don't know if he's posted or said anything about it, but Mark Jeffries this week went fishing and had one of the top 5 days of his life. Now, he claims that he caught an 8-pounder. He took a picture of it next to his very long leg, because when he's holding it, and he's a giant man, and it did not look like an 8-pounder. Then you see the picture of it next to his leg, and you're like, yeah, that's an 8-pounder. But one of the top 5 days, he said he caught him on the shad spawn, spinnerbait, crankbait. I've been trying to get him in to do a recap, to make an appearance, his first appearance on BTL since retiring December 20th. So maybe if you inundate him in the email box, hey, jump on BTL. I do want to get him back on for a segment and see what he's been up to. So this has been BTL on a Wednesday. Dang, I hit the music a little too hard. It's all good. Big thanks, Keith Poche, Pike Road, Alabama, coming on talking about a bunch of different things in the industry, a bunch of different topics. So tomorrow and the next day, go over and watch the NPFL from Watts Bar. Our own Bradley Hallman will be doing on-the-water commentary there. So go watch that on the NationalProfessionalFishingLeague.com. This has been BTL. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.